Well, Malaki Gomado joins us now. He's a legal practitioner to look at some of these matters. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You know, but when the report, the last speech band there talking about a judge's comment may put pay to the matter, but we all know that before the judge makes those pronouncements, prosecutors ought to have concluded and done a good job of investigation before they come forward with what they found. But at this stage, where the word is going back and forth concerning what the parents think the case is, and what the police say it is, even though they say, yes, we will continue investigation, but they believe they've made a headway so far, but that is being questioned by people. You've been with the police, you've investigated some of these matters. What do you think about this one?
Please permit me to be a little circumspect in responding to this. The reason being that investigation, as I understand it, is ongoing. However, I'm going to shock you by telling you that it's easier to defend a criminal matter than to prosecute a criminal matter.
Wow.
The reason being that by the standard of criminal prosecution under our legal regimes, it has to be beyond every reasonable doubt. And so if I'm able to cast any shadow of doubt in the line of your own theory of what happened, it will be resolved in favor of the accused person. The reason why I put it this way is to underscore the enormity of expertise that is required of any prosecutor, if you like, prosecution in criminal trials.
This includes forensics.
And I'm going to tell you that what happens in court is perhaps the last exercise in the entire prosecution system. By far more important than that is the quality of investigation that went or preceded that. Indeed, a case could be lost, however credible, at the point of investigation. If you are unable to assemble the body of evidence, albeit relevant materials and evidence in support of the charge that is preferred against an accused person, you have merely wasted your time because you have clearly played into the hands of the defense to cast the proverbial doubt and shadow. So it is becoming worrisome because we've had avalanche of such similar cases. If you cast your mind back to the Edo State situation where my good friend, Comrade Olaitan, was murdered, you would find that we are unable to put our fingers on anything, essentially because of the shoddy job that was done by the police in the course of the investigation. And at a point, it became a tug of war between the police and the SSS. Sister organizations that are supposed to synergize and reinforce each other in the investigation process. Now, that will not detract from the young man who just wedded, in Lagos State here, and was just murdered. Now, I think that some of us are particularly worried because we are supposed to be in a civilized society. The Constitution presumes every person innocent until he's proved guilty. Nigeria is a signatory to a lot of international instruments, ranging from the United Nations, the United Nations instruments regarding the rights of an accused person. Indeed, there is a minimum standard of treatment for prisoners, assuming you even got them as accused person and take them to prisons. But the wanton killings, extrajudicial killings of Nigerians in ways and manner that are apparently avoidable is what has given serious concern to look at the woman who, in her limited knowledge, and I said I'm going to refrain from details, but in her limited knowledge, has been able to puncture the theory of armed robbery.
So that's a sufficient shadow of doubt.
my goodness, if you give me that kind of matter, you will not just cast the doubt, you will demobilize the prosecution and embarrass them at that. You need to tell by far more sophisticated story to be able to sustain that kind of logic you're trying to put forward. And I've made the point that in criminal prosecution, you need to be watertight. You need to sequentially assemble the facts supported by the evidence and then do it in such a way that it will almost be impossible to escape that conclusion that you want to draw.
But a lot of people even say that how many cases, or they ask, how many cases even get to that point of prosecution? As you rightly observed, the court is the last step in the prosecutory matter, perhaps the final one as well. But what happens in between? A lot of people say that oftentimes the cases never get to court. So what you have is that the suspects are paraded, maybe for a case that is obvious, or maybe something that the police is trying to bring forward. And that's it. Nobody hears anything about it again. There is no talk of prosecution.
Or they become awaiting trial mates.
Now, the position of our law today is that except you are giving fiat, the business of prosecution lies squarely with the state. And when I listened to, was it the Commissioner of Police in Kogi State?
Police Bureau.
I say we are human beings and we will sympathize with the family. Yeah, good statement. But if he has proper understanding of criminal offenses, you will know that even in the hierarchy of victims, it is the state that suffers more, much more than the family, however painful that is. It is for that reason that you will not see in the charges that will ultimately be preferred, for instance, against the accused persons or the suspects, you will not see Anyabe family and those families. What you will see is either Commissioner of Police or Inspector General of Police against the accused persons. Justice in criminal matters is threefold. To the victim, which is the complainant and the family, of course. To the state, most importantly, and they take it up. And, of course, to the accused person. So, in times where you, from inception, are already doubtful that the capacity of the state to handle this matter is not ascertained, what it leads to is people taking to self-help. Imagine, and assuming without considering that woman in that state of grief was perhaps a lot more younger and has her own, if you like, native means of appreciating what must have happened. And rather be bogged down by the story of armed robbery, decides that I will revenge on behalf of my only surviving son, as I understand it. Once that becomes the situation, you will see a compoundment of the crisis that was created out of, lack of capacity on the part of the police to do their job. Now, I have tried to refer to the constitution of the country. Under section 34, precisely, insisting that the innocence of every Nigerian is presumed until a court of law, not just a court of law, a competent court of law is able to decide otherwise. What that presupposes is that for a competent court of law to come to a conclusion, contrary to the allegation that was leveled against the accused person, there must have been a free and fair trial.